the speed of the transactions are happening faster and faster. What does that mean, though, for how you as a car dealer value a car in the buying? Because you're saying the profit is in the buying. Today I have none other than Bobby Petkov from MitMak Motors on this video cast with me. And today the topic is going to be how important is data to car dealerships. The life has changed as a result of COVID. We've gone through this pandemic, and I'm referring to the innovation that's had to occur over the last year as the compression or the shortening of the innovation curve, and this unprecedented interruption in our, or should I say, almost disruption of our automotive industry has forced us to focus more and more on data. So welcome, Bobby, and I look forward to a good discussion around how important data is. So I suppose the first question is, over the last year, what has been your general view? How have things gone for MitMak Motors?
Hi, thank you for having me again, sir. Very excited to be here. I think it's going to be an amazing discussion. Last year, it's been a roller coaster ride, but one that we've tried to hold on tight, and it shows it in our numbers. We've gone from strength to strength. We're up about 40% on sales over the let's say, for example, January to January and February to February 2020 versus 2021. It's been very hard. I don't think I've ever worked as hard as I've worked the last year. It's been my hardest working year in my career in the motor industry. It's really been tough, but it's been very rewarding. The challenge was accepted.
Well, they say that life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So I think over the last year we've all been put out of our comfort zones to a large degree. So life has started. So that's really good news, because it kind of resonates with, and I didn't know that Bobby's kind of growth has been over 40% year on year. It kind of resonates with Auto Trader's growth, because we've seen growth numbers of between 40 and 55. We touched 60 for a little bit, but it's been almost 12 months of that kind of growth in used car search and conversion. So that's obviously translating into value for car dealerships. Specifically, MitMak in this case, who's showing 40% increase, and I'm not going to say that Auto Trader is the result of all of your 40%, but hopefully some of it. So used cars doing well is what you're saying, and so, can dealers sit back, I suppose, and say, well, used car is buoyant, so therefore data is not important. How important is data, now post 2020 to MitMak Motors and to Bobby?
Well, I believe that it's never been more important, because the used car industry is buoyant. It means the competitiveness of the motor dealers is even more fierce. So everybody is doing well. Everybody's pressing hard to get the attention of the consumer, and also what you do with that attention will then determine whether you can create a sale or generate a lead or generate somebody to follow up. But also knowing what attention to attract towards your dealership and towards the cars that you place on. And by all means, Auto Trader has been a massive part of our growth, because the end user or the in-market car shopper is on Auto Trader. So capturing that attention with the right vehicle will determine whether we do the delivery or not. So data in 2021 has never ever been more important. To see what sort of age group is on Auto Trader, what sort of brands are the entry of Auto Trader, and where sort of the consumer exits, because that's phenomenal. If you have a look at your BMW segment, everybody goes and looks at a BMW, but they end up buying a Polo. So it tells me that you need to have both, and you need to have both at scale, because if you don't, then you will lose that attention going into your dealership. If you don't have the BMW, and if you don't have the Polo to close, you will lose the sale. So you need both. Not that BMWs don't sell, but you need a consistent amount of data coming in so that you can buy right. The profit's always in the buying; it's never in the selling. And if you buy right, you will definitely be able to place those cars.
Talking about buying right, so. Everything starts and ends in many instances with the vulgar mechanics of cash, as I like to put it. And what I mean by that is while demand and supply and buying the right make, model, and variant is important, and we've just put out the 2020 Auto Trader car industry report that you can download at reports.autotrader.co.za, and I'm sure you've had a read of it, and it shows which makes, models, and variants are in high demand and which ones are in high supply. That part of the equation is important, is what you're saying, and the speed of the transactions are happening faster and faster. What does that mean, though, for how you as a car dealer value a car in the buying? Because you're saying the profit is in the buying, so now you've got to very quickly come up with a value. How do you do that?
Absolutely. We go on historical data based on our own experience. Intensive market research where we use your report that we had up to last year, and when you compare the two, it's very interesting. They aren't massive changes, but the small changes that are very evident are evident on our floor. For example, we never sold many Hilux Bakkies, and last year's report showed that the Hilux Bakkie was number 2, and the Ford Ranger had overtaken it. Where this year the Hilux sort of nudged its way back into the first position, and it's evident on our sales. We sell more Hiluxes in 2021 than we did in 2020, January-February period. So it is you have to have your finger on the pulse so closely. So going back to your question, when deciding what to buy and how much to pay for it, using data like this can assist you. I know that Ford Rangers sell well. If you go and segment the Ford Rangers and see which specific variant sells even better, then you'll have a clue what to pay for more, and obviously you will reduce your profit margin slightly, but get the stock out faster. So it needs to be a conscious decision. Do I want to hang on to things that don't sell quickly but perhaps make a bigger profit, or would I like to turn the MitMak economy and get everybody making money, even our sales, wash pay, everybody joins into the growth and make less money but sell more units. So it's a very delicate decision making process that is almost adjusted weekly, if I can say so.
Yeah. So that means, if the speed of this is so relevant and prevalent, and you have to kind of value a car, you can't go too far into history because those values will be irrelevant. A Hilux that you paid a certain amount of money for a year ago isn't going to be relevant in the data set today, which means that you need fast, fresh data all the time in order to make these buying decisions, because like you said, if the profit is in the buying, not the selling. And while you might make a margin, you could make a better margin if you just get your valuation right. So my question is, are valuation companies keeping up with adjusting the values of cars fast enough?
Oh, wow. Brilliant question. And the straightforward answer is no, because it is handled the same way it's been handled for the past 20 years. There isn't really any fresh market research that's been applied and data to adjust the trade and retail. An auction house, you will never. So that means the dealer is already paying 10 to 20% over retail for a Ford Ranger XL double cab, for example. That's prior to the dealer having done tires and any other reconditioning costs like windscreens, touch up, repair with interior, whatever the vehicle needs. And coming from an auction house, it will need some stuff. So you're already at close to 30% over retail on your top 5 variants that are most popular. Therefore, you're sort of in a catch-22, because if you are even attempting to make 6% on your investment, the customer already needs to put in the region of about 20, 25, 30% deposit. Now on a 300,000 Rand car, you're looking at a huge amount of money. So the financing of that vehicle becomes extremely tricky. So evaluation, sources or data points need to catch a wake up, for a lack of better word, and just come up to speed with what's actually going on in the marketplace, and not what happened 15 years ago, because it's changed. It changed from last week.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that brings me to this notion of live market data. How live does it have to be? How fresh does it have to be? And then the second point to live market data is when a car dealer does a valuation, is it more and more becoming a retail back valuation? So for instance, I know what I can sell the car for, therefore I'm going to work backwards to what I'm going to pay for the car, rather than looking at historical data points.
Absolutely. You'll have to work it backwards. If you don't, you will never be able to buy good quality, clean stock that you can actually sell. And working backwards creates the challenge of your APU, your average per unit will drop, but you'll actually start acquiring good quality stock that you can present. At least the top 5 or 10 variants that actually matter, that will get your business turning.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that goes again to demand and supply. Know what to buy, but know what price to buy it at. And the only way you're going to do that is if you've got really your finger on the pulse, as you put it, to data that's happening now in the last couple of weeks. And our car industry report takes a view of about 6 months, and then some of the reports take a view of 12 months. So while that data is very relevant, there are products in Auto Trader, one of them called Fusion, where as a car dealer you use Fusion, right, Bobby?
Absolutely, every day, every single day.
Which gives you that kind of finger on the pulse. Now, I mean, I don't want to turn this into a sales pitch, but it is an example of a valuation tool that is live. It gives you the data that's happening right now. So moving away from that, do you believe that the innovation curve over the last year has compressed, for car dealers, and what do you think the things are that are changing in the data world of car dealers? What are car dealers doing, and what should they be doing in this compressed innovation curve that we've experienced over the last year?
I mean, you've illustrated it so brilliantly there. A business starts, then innovation occurs, the business grows, then it becomes sort of like a plateau where dealerships and businesses in general, I think, become comfortable, and then it becomes like more of a sustaining of a lifestyle. I always like to use that word in the motor industry. And then COVID happens, and it wipes out 30-40% of the industry just clean in a couple of months.
Yeah.
And that's because the moment the plateau starts to happen, you need to innovate again. And COVID has forced us to do it faster, better, with more conviction. And I think going forward, I wanna use this reference. I can't remember who I heard it from, but it's not mine, so I won't take credit. The change and the evolution has been fast over the last 12 months. It will never ever be this slow again. So going forward, everything will happen even quicker, with even more data that will become available not only to the dealership but to the consumer, which will expose us even more, which will mean we'll have to up our game even more to be competitive or relevant in the marketplace. And one area which I feel is under a lot of pressure at the moment is the acquisition of stock, because big, huge companies have gathered momentum with data. And it's put the dealership sort of on the back foot, and that's where we need to focus energy, and we need to stop trying to catch up there in order for us to be able to get consumers' cars at prices which can actually make a profit or turn a profit.
So I mean, let's speak about that for a second. So I think my perspective would be I don't think those companies that have kind of got in the middle of the car dealer and the consumer took the proverbial trade-in away. Do you think that dealers just didn't innovate fast enough when it came to demand, supply, and valuations that kind of left this big, wide open door for acquisition companies to walk through?
Absolutely. Acquisition companies never took anything from a dealer. And if the dealership feels that they did, they need to reevaluate the fact that the dealership gave them the trading, the dealership gave them the stock by not being fast enough, not paying the right number, and basically not allowing yourself to stop plateauing, but constantly evolve. And that led to a situation where options came up, and then more options came up, and the consumer has, fortunately, unfortunately, however you see it, I see it's fortunately that the consumer has options to that. And if you are not going to pinpoint the right number to pay for a vehicle, you will lose that vehicle. And nobody will take it. Going back to what you said, nobody will take that trade-in away from you. You'll simply give it to whoever takes it, because you aren't applying data science and your own creativity to go and grab the trade-in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you mentioned right at the beginning there, Bobby, that your dealership over the last year has grown year on year by 40%. So how has your dealership innovated to keep ahead of this topic that we're talking about? What are some of the things that you can share with us that you've done to help with that 40% growth? Because, like I say, I'd love it to all be Auto Trader, but I think MitMak Motors has been very creative, because you and I talk relatively frequently, and some of the stuff you've done has actually been groundbreaking.
Okay, thank you. So Auto Trader has been a huge part of our success. There's no denying that. The fact that we know, I mean, if I quickly take a look, there's 379 million pages opened in the last 6 months. That's from July till December. That is mind-boggling. It's
a big number.
I mean, I'm still trying to figure this out, and I've had this report for a few days. How many pages a day are actually being opened? So the attention is there. It's evident. There is attention there. How do you mix science and creative and make your dealership brand as well as your product to stand out from all the noise? Because at a 379 million pages open, it's very noisy there. There's a lot of, I think, 65 to 70,000 vehicles advertised, 1,200 dealerships that are on Auto Trader, all competing for attention. So I think it's been a hard try on mixing science and creative to sort of stand out from the crowd. Outside of Auto Trader, be it TV, radio, billboards, your normal conventional stuff, so that you can grab the attention of the out of market car shopper. Am I saying it correctly? Out of market car shopper, and then once that person becomes an in market car shopper, I recognize the brand. They've got reputable reviews everywhere. That's something that I would like to explore. And I think that mixture of science and data and creative has been our success. Obviously, focusing on each and every department, service department, lots of drama. So plenty of opportunities to go and better their sales team. Salespeople are always the key sort of force that drive the sales, but they're not the only force. F&I, we've had to innovate new ways of handling apps, new ways of obviously giving faster, quicker feedback to our consumers and be more efficient there. The buying of stock has been something that I've focused a lot of energy on, because we can't sell what we don't have. And if we buy faster, we can sell faster if we apply the science and the creative right by buying the correct vehicle that will sell. So I think it's a multiple equation that myself and my management team constantly have to solve to get it to grow at that pace. It's very hard though. It's not easy. Like I said, the last year that I've never worked so hard in my life. I've got some grey hairs that started popping up.
And you're young.
Like, what is this?
So hard work. So
really hard.
If I can kind of summarize what I'm hearing is, there's no silver bullet in what you said. And I think that's that's the point really, is there's no silver bullet. MitMak hasn't created this silver bullet, piece of technology that has caused that 40%. You've just done the things that need to be done well. And it's, keeping your finger on the pulse when it comes to demand and supply, current demand and supply. What do consumers want and what is out there to buy? And then the second or third thing to that is getting the valuation right on the purchase so that you can get the profit right on the sale. And then an interesting thing that you brought out there was building a brand to speak to the out-of-market car shopper, because it's when the out-of-market car shopper becomes an in-market car shopper that they will then choose MitMak. For some reason, they will come onto AutoTrader, and in the back of their mind, they'll recognize that MitMak brand, and suddenly there's trust built. And then you use data to inform the creativity of the brand that you're building. And it sounds all nice and pie, but you seem to have got it right.
Yeah, I think we have sit downs literally weekly with the creative team and with the management team, and most of the stuff that we put out there, or most of the ideas that we try and take to market don't work. But those ideas sort of help us and teach us of what does work. And once we find something that does, we sort of, focus a lot of energy, put budget behind it and explore it until we feel that, okay, this is now becoming a part of our culture. This process or the system or this way of doing things is embedded into the culture. What's next? And we constantly look for that next.
That's referred to as the feedback loop. And I think the speed of the feedback loop is the important part. It's not this. There's no silver bullet technology that's going to come out there and help you win as a car dealer. I don't think that's not what I'm hearing from you. It's the data. Got to have your finger on the pulse. It's the creativity. You've got to inform your brand and your advertising, and to stand out from the 300 million pages that get opened, not only on AutoTrader but on the rest of the internet as well. And then the speed of that feedback loop. Like if something's not working, go and change it. It's not necessarily going to work for MitMak and work for another dealership as well. Another dealership might have to take a different creative route. And I think that's the beauty of where you find yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And just because something worked last year, it's not necessarily going to work in the future either. So as your diagram shows, when a business starts, you get momentum, and then you need to innovate. And then when the curve starts doing this, you need to change it. So even though that brought us an extra 30, 40 vehicles a month, the moment that it starts bringing us only 20, 25, 18, we need to change it and improve it and innovate it so that we can get that line going up again. That's very hard to do, because if something works, you tend to leave it alone. Don't fix something that's not broken, but you have to measure it, and you have to make sure that you're checking, is it working as well? Can we improve it?
And then Bobby, I have one final question for you. As part of the AutoTrader Car Industry Report, we did a study. And, if you read in the last parts of the report, we did a study and try to figure out, what are consumers doing now post all of the hard lockdowns, and we're in 2021. And if you remember, beginning of last year, midway through last year, you and I were talking about consumers downgrading their cars. And it seems that the tide has turned. People are actually upgrading their cars at the moment. So I've got to ask the question: in the main, in the economy where people do have jobs and where things are going relatively okay, is there really a financial problem?
In my opinion, yes and no. It's very industry related. It's very market related. So your hospitality industry, big problems. Your retail industry, your online, the businesses that depend on online sort of e-commerce industry is booming. If I read the report correctly, and I might be out with with a little bit, I see the change in the last 6 months has been a 2-year newer vehicle, where the mileage is approximately between 5,000 and 8,000 kilometers less, and the price has grown up to over and above 300,000 rand, which shows me that the people will buy more expensive because the interest rate is favorable. So for as long as the interest rate stays favorable, in my opinion, used cars and even houses, if you speak to estate agents, they are actually selling houses in this day and age. Interest rate, the moment interest rate starts rising, the people will become tighter, because if I take back my average F&I interest rate of January and February 2020, they were at about 11%, 10, 11%, 12%. We even saw on a bit more riskier deals, 13%.
Yeah.
And it's not unnatural to see between 6.5% and 7.5% interest rates on cars leaving here every day. So I mean, that's low. That's very good. And the moment that or for as long as the interest rate stays low, more or less where it will be. And from what I'm hearing, they don't intend to do anything about the interest rate in the year of 2021, which is amazing news for all of us. But I believe the moment that it starts going up, that's when the people will become tight, and they'll, like you said in your report, they will vote with their wallets, and they'll tend to keep a car longer, which is not good for anyone, or they will rather opt for a cheaper car where your biggest market at the moment is 250 to 400.
Yeah.
They will rather than try and go under the 250 mark, because the premium will be more affordable. So interesting to see that. I'm watching. I think that's the one thing that I'm going to be watching the closest. Not Bitcoin, but South African interest rate. The moment that goes up, I'm gonna have red flags and say, guys, we need to re-strategize. But for now, it's favorable. Very good.
Well, we're almost out of time, Bobby, and it's been an interesting conversation. Very lastly, though, your opinion on new car. New car is suffering, and I keep saying it's the prices. The prices are rising too fast, and if we try and get into this electric car future, we have to work with government. The government has to do something to incentivize the stimulation of new cars, because in the end, do you believe that used car dealerships will begin to hurt if there isn't a stimulation of new car sales in the industry?
Absolutely. I mean, our fleet, our national fleet is aging, and because the prices are high, unless manufacturers that adjust pricing based on rand dollar exchange, based on a million other things, unless they come in and stimulate the purchasing of new vehicles, like all different things that they do, buyback schemes, leasing schemes, low interest rate, they will not be able to push a new C-Class at 700,000 rand. I mean, it's and I'm not going off the Mercedes. Everybody does it, from Mahindra to Jaguars. All the cost prices are rising. So I mean, at a 60% price margin, you can go and buy a fairly new 1 or 2 year old used model with similar or better spec, 60 to 70% of what a new one costs. It still has motor plan, it still has service plan. It's a nice, neat, clean car that won't give you problems. Why spend the extra money? I think the value doesn't exceed the price at the moment, and that's why people aren't buying new vehicles. The moment the value exceeds the price, or some creative scheme from the manufacturer comes up, then the people, in my opinion, will start buying new cars again, which will then be even better for the used car market, because we'll start to get stock at a better price again. And those 30% over retail margins that we're currently paying will reduce to between trade and retail, as they were 2 to 3 years ago. I mean, those days are long gone. And unless something drastic happens from government side or from a pricing point of view, we will still be paying those high prices on used cars.
Well, from your mouth, let's see if we can get people to pay attention and get new car stimulation, because it's at the end of the day going to benefit the used car industry. So that's all we have time for, Bobby. And as usual, Bobby Petkov, founder and dealer principal, and the head honcho at MitMak Motors, and going from strength to strength. Well done, Bobby, and thank you for your insights. I appreciate it very much. And until next time, we'll see you on the next episode.